07 Commanders. Commander Will Furian here, leader of the Vortex Squadron. We are back with some going in hot today. Going in hot. What we're going to go in hot on today, talk a little bit about Powerplay, the event that's going on currently, and some Thargoid stuff. And we need to get into that, Commanders, right now. Alrighty then. So, we're out here today. Look where we're at, Commanders. You know what that nebula is? I do. It's the California Nebula. We're going to talk a little bit about the California Nebula today, as it is the last bastion of evil Thargoids in the galaxy that we're aware of. So, the other thing that I wanted to mention, now I know I did yesterday, I did a video, kind of going over the galactic, how people are feeling in the galaxy. And I guess I didn't really mention the fact that my squadron is not a big fan of Powerplay. We don't really play it, so we don't know all the rules and we don't understand all the things you can do because we don't do them. Also, everybody in my squadron pretty much is 25% top tier already. So we don't care really who wins or loses. What we care about is that we don't want the devs slipping back into this slippery slope where they're getting people to switch sides, to leave one side, go to another side because that's the winning team. You don't really want to do that. I mean, and the current power play is everybody's kind of okay with it just being the way it is. And, if you're on a team that's not doing great, a lot of people don't care. They just want to use it for role playing purposes, things like that. So I didn't mention those things yesterday because I didn't want it to be about me or, what the, the power that I support, which obviously most of you guys know who that is. But today, that's not what we're doing today. So what happened was basically is that the wind got kind of taken out of our sails because of all the confusion. I did listen to the Loose Screws podcast, which those guys are very heavily into Powerplay and BGS. So they're kind of my go-to guys for when I want to kind of see where things really are at. And even now I just listened to this last night after my video came out yesterday. And they even were like, it's really confusing. We don't understand all the mechanics. It's because what it is, and I said this previously, but it's kind of a hybrid power play and Thargoid war mechanics. They mushed them together and they're not all sorted out yet. So that's part of the reason why I didn't really feel like it was good planning because, it just feels like, okay, and I'm not saying anything bad about the devs or anything like that, but it feels like it was kind of thrown together. And, the people that play every day like I do notice this stuff, right? Not every player is going to notice it. I get that. A lot of the power play people, they're just into their, feet picks and the blue-haired lady. That's fine. You guys knock yourselves out. You go to town, Commanders. That's fine with me. But some of us actually notice, like, how does that affect the community as a whole? Okay, there's a much broader scope that a lot of people don't touch on, and that's okay too. You don't have to. But there's people like me and other commanders out there that look at it from a broader scope of what's good for the game, what's harmful to the game, stuff like that. We're watchdogs, right? So we watch it, and when we see it, we call it out. If people don't agree with that, well, that's fine. That's okay. I'm not going to get mad at you. I read all your comments, Commanders. So don't you ever be afraid to tell me how wrong I am, because I will listen to you, even though I know that I'm right and you're not. No, I'm just kidding. That was a joke. Joke, Commanders. Don't you guys start throwing rocks at me. All right. So we kind of got the wind taken out of our sails on the whole event, but we're already all 25%, so we don't really care. But then we're like, hey, gosh, you know what we do like to do? We like to kill Thargoids. So we came out to California. We built us some AX Caspian Explorers. And boy, are they fun. So yeah, we're going to get more into that here in just a moment. And I'll even show you my build. It's not like the best build in the world. But I can show you the build, and I can tell you what I like about it, what I don't, and I'll talk more about the Thargoids. Give me 1 sec. All right, commanders. I had to fly back to my carrier real quick. Yeah, we are in this system here. This system is one that I have, that I've architected. I've started it a long time ago, but I never went anywhere with it. So probably doesn't get a lot of use, but it's basically a parking spot we can use, that I can use near, well, I mean, other people can too, but mostly me, to go to California Nebula, which is just over, wherever the heck it went. It's around here somewhere. I don't even know if I can see it out the window. Nope. All right, it's hidden. It's out there somewhere though. And basically, that planet I was at the beginning is where I put down my first industrial outpost, and it was before I really understood how the rings work and all that. So, it is what it is, commanders. You learn, you live and learn. And I'm building heavily more these days over in COL 285. Excuse me, which is where the current events are happening over there. And so, like I said, I watched the Loose Screws podcast. They kind of went over everything, kind of made things a little bit more clear for me. But I'm still like, at the point where everybody just kind of, we were like going whole hog, and everybody was showing up every day, and we were going out fighting, and then all of a sudden everybody stopped, which is probably for the same reasons as I discussed in my video yesterday, or whatever, a couple days ago, whatever it was. Just, you can watch that video if you want it. It's on the channel. You can watch it, and you can see what I had to say. It's actually not doing bad as far as video go. So this is what I'm going to do. So we came out, we built some Caspian ships. Now, there are some variations in the different combat pilots depending on what they want. What I've done is built a ship that's kind of like the basic kind of ship, which I usually do, because it's just easier in some cases to get the stuff. But there is some high-end tech on here, and we're going to talk about that tech while we're out here, so that you understand what you're up against. California has what I call the aggressive Thargoids. The aggressive Thargoids do not come up and lick your face and look at you and scream at you. They just try to kill you. Okay, they don't talk about it. They just come in, they do a pulse wave burst, and then they start a shooting. So basically what we're looking at here, and if you're new to Thargoids, I don't know that I'm going to be able to, go back to the very beginning, but basically the Thargoid War, when it started, as an actual war kind of thing, there was a guy named Salvation. This is the short version. A guy named Salvation was screwing around. He was doing experiments on the Thargoids, and then at some point he created what's called the Proteus Wave, which there's a place out there which is now benign. It used to be loaded with aggressive Thargoids, but that's not a thing anymore. So he went out and got him mad. He tried to kill him with the Proteus Wave, and then the Proteus Wave was reversed by the Thargoids, destroyed all the humans in the area, and basically they called out, or the Titans called out to them and said, "Hey, we see them, we're coming," right? So I think it was a year later when the Titans started showing up, and everybody was like freaking out because we got to watch them coming, because they traveled real slow. I mean, not real slow, but slower than, slow enough that we could see them traveling. And obviously like Cannon or whoever, whatever groups went out, found them, and oh shoot, sorry guys, I'm having an issue. All right, sorry guys, I had to have an issue there. Should have just paused the video for a second. But anyway, hey, it's not a party until something gets broken, right? So in any event, the Titans came out. We started fighting them. We fought them for like 2 whole years. One at a time, we took down the Titans. And then the last Titan we killed about this time, a little bit after this time, last year, right? I mean, pretty much within the week or two. That we're right on the birthday of Thargoid War. And then basically that was it. they took most of the stuff out of the game, including the stuff that was in the system where Salvation had launched the Proteus wave. So my group and me especially, I went out searching to see if there was anything else because I knew that there were Thargoids in the nebulas, but I didn't know if they were the right kind of Thargoids because I don't like the passive Thargoids. I don't like to mess with them. They're passive. They're not a threat to us. The ones that are a threat to us are the ones that are trying to kill us. Now, for whatever reason, California Nebula still had Thargoids, and they had the kind of Thargoids we're used to fight, which are the really super aggressive ones. So they're like, typically they'd be in a conflict zone, whether that conflict zone was in space or if it was on the ground or wherever. That's where we would always go. We would just constantly go to different conflict zones, and there was a whole system set up, to where we could do certain things to hurt them faster. Eventually they had spire sites, they had all this stuff. The spire sites are just gorgeous, and it's really sad that they're dark now because I really love spire sites. I think they're amazing, and they were a really fun game loop. They were a really simple game loop, but they were really fun because it was a place where people would congregate and go fight, for a common cause. That's one thing I liked about the Thargoid War over this power play stuff is because for one, we defended humanity, the whole human race. We defended them for 2 years. And then, at the end of the Thargoid War, boof, oh, sorry guys, now you got to fight each other. Okay, well, and so we do that in some ways, but if it's like a like crime fighting kind of stuff, I like that. I don't just like indiscriminately killing humans for no reason. And I know some of you do, and there's nothing wrong with that, commanders. I'm not judging you. I'm just saying this is where I'm at. This is where my head's at. I always try to tell you guys where my head's at so you know what I'm thinking before I think it. And then so California Nebula has the Thargoids in it that we like to fight. Now, all the AX groups in the game know about this place, so it's usually very congested. There's always lots of carriers in there. There's just stuff parked everywhere. And so when we started colonizing, we tried to colonize, close to the zone where you fight the Thargoids and stuff like that. So we could always have a parking spot because I know nobody's going to park over here because it's a little bit, it's 2 jumps out. So it's a little bit of a distance. So in any event, so we still go there and we fight the Thargoids and we have a lot of fun. It's a thing where we can congregate together. We have a common enemy and whatever. Now, when we do power play and stuff, that's fun too, but it's not the same thing. And the ships, I'll tell you what, the first time you see a Thargoid explode, you're going to forget about all those little ships. Okay. I'm just telling you, the explosions are amazing. So it's one of the most fun things about it is this. It's a very satisfying kill when you get a Thargoid down. So even more so than killing an anaconda, right? So my guy's favorite thing to do is kill anacondas in the conflict zones. And, in the power play ones, we get a smattering of anacondas, but not really, or, cutters, clippers, anything like that. We love all the big ships. We like to blow them to smithereens. So in any event, so we decided, okay, look, we're kind of over the event, right? So let's go out and do some Thargoids. Now there's this Caspian ship, right? There's this Caspian explorer ship, which people have been just adamant and letting me know that it is not a combat ship. Well, I'll tell you what, commanders, I disagree. Actually, I've seen several videos of people killing hydras, people doing, killing Thargoids with them. And you got to understand, commanders, this is a different kind of Thargoid out here, okay? You don't usually see anybody soloing a hydra here. You see them soloing a hydra in a signal source. Those Thargoids are not the same. They're much more aggressive. The Thargoids in the conflicts or in the signal sources will usually let you get away, and you can like repair your ship and do all this stuff. These Thargoids, that's not a thing. Okay, they're very aggressive. So whenever anybody tells me, oh, somebody did this, that, and the other, I always want to know, well, which Thargoids were they fighting? If they're fighting the ones out here in California in a conflict zone, okay, I'm impressed. But if you're, otherwise, yeah, I think it's great that people can cold orbit and all that stuff, but that to me is not fighting. That's fancy flying, right? So, you know, there are fancy flyer pilots. Hey, good, great, good on them, you know, but that's not my jam. So, anyway, while we wait to figure out what's going on with the power play thing, you know, with the whatever the event is, we don't know what we're fighting for. We don't know why we're there. We're not saving humanity. We're not even saving the emperor. So we're not doing much of anything. So we built these ships. So here's what I've got. All right. Long range weapon, thermal vent. That is to keep your ship cool. Anything to keep your ship cool against these Thargoids is a blessing, because then it's harder for them to target you or to even see you. You can basically park right next to one as long as you don't shoot it with anything but the thermal vent beam. They will leave you alone in a lot of cases, and that's always a benefit when you're not taking damage, because these things damage the holy bejesus out of you. So you got to just be on point, commanders. Now, this is one of my favorite weapons. I always use this, the AX pre-engineered multi-cannon, azimuth multi-cannons. These are available on some of the ships in the bubble. There's a one, yeah, I can't even remember the name of the system, but there's 2 systems where these are available. If you want to know, just ask me. I'll tell you on in the comments. Okay, so I got two of those there, and then I got 2 more down here. Right, so I got 4 in total. Now these are class 2 or size 2. Yeah, class 2. So they don't have as many bullets. Or they don't have as much ammo as the class 3s, and they don't have the firepower. But they're doable. Like, mostly I only use the multi cannons for 2 things. You kill scouts with them, or you take heart. You can take hearts with them, but you can also take hearts with the shard cannons. Now these are the pre-engineered or the modified long-range fixed with the they have a really tight spread on them. Now these are dangerous to use because, and I'll get to that in a little bit, but you can use them here, especially if you're going to the medium conflict zone. If you go to the high, you might get them shut off, but we'll get into that. The so we got 2 of those, and they do both oh, actually these are the these are the pre-engineered or modified guardian shard cannons. So some of the names that they give these things are like they don't make sense. Like, it's hard to figure out which one's which, but yeah, we know if it's long range, it's the right ones that have the tight and long distance shooting. Now, what I mostly use these for is exerting. So when you're fighting a Thargoid, it has a shield. So you can eat the shield with the beam laser. You don't even need to do anything else. You can get something to tear the shield down faster if you want, but it's not necessary. You can do it right with this thermal vented long range weapon right here. And then once the shield's down, then what you have to do is you have to give it enough damage so that one of its hearts will become exposed. If you've never seen a Thargoid before, well, you better get out here to California, and I'll show you one. So once its heart is exposed, then assuming that you have scanned it, which we'll get to the scanner part here in a minute, then you can target the individual hearts. And with a gimbaled weapon like this, you can just shoot at the heart. And you can also, if you feel so inclined, you can try to target the heart with this. Once the hearts are down, basically you blast it into oblivion and you kill it. And it's a longer process. I have tons and tons of videos on this channel about Thargoid. And so if you've never done Thargoid and you want to know more about Thargoid, please check out those videos. So under the utility mounts, now this is where it gets a little tricky. You got your caustic sinks. Now your caustic sinks for me, are an emergency in this area because you shouldn't really need them. But sometimes, if you get a little overzealous with the old shard cannons, it can overheat your ship. And then I have an emergency for that right here. I use the, oh, I'm sorry, that's the heat sinks down here. Sorry about that. Yeah, the heat sinks. And then I use the caustic. Now, the caustic sink launchers are also available in the bubble on those 2 mega ships I mentioned earlier, but I can't remember the name. I think one of them's at Sirius. And I don't know why I can't remember the other name. See, because it's been so long since I've done it. I used to just be able to rip all the words right away. But anyway, there's 2 places you can buy these caustic sink launchers, and you can modify them so that they have a little bit more capacity. Also through Ramtaw, so you can Ramtaw can upgrade these for you. And then it's basically the same thing as the heat sinks. They didn't even really give it its own separate thing. They just kind of said, oh, yeah. But if you go to Ramtaw, because it's probably not pinned for you, then you can do that. Now, the enhanced Xeno scanner, there's a couple different versions of this. This is the one you really want for out here. It's got the key thing to look for is the 2,000 meter range, and you definitely do not want the Titan version. Okay, so there's a Titan version. There's a really crappy version of this one, and then there's this one. So that one you need to be able to scan the Thargoid to then be able to target the hearts individually. Otherwise, if you're just using fixed weapons and you don't really care, you don't need this thing. But it is nice to know. I like to be able to see exactly what the Thargoid's reacting to, how the hearts are, which one's exerted, all that. You can do all of that. The shutdown field neutralizer, obviously, this is an ability that they have to do. They blast a bubble of Thargoid goodness out of them, and it will shut down your ship for about 30 seconds. So this thing negates that. So there's a way you can go in there when they're about ready to burst. It'll give you a message on the screen. You can hear it in your headphones when they're going to do it, and you press, whatever button you set it up to negate them turning your ship off. Because what happens a lot of times is if your ship gets turned off, the Thargoid will know that, and it will come and talk to you in a bad way. Okay, so that's why we use that. The core internals. Now this one, okay, so this is the Caspian. So I'm not 100% sure this is, the absolute best route. Okay, but, I went with the Mark II ablative military grade composite. Seems to work just fine. It's got heavy duty deep plating. You got your power plant. We got the low emissions power plant and monster. Now thrusters, I did not get the Mark II thrusters because I'm not landing on the ground, and I already had a pre-engineered 7A thruster in my arsenal of things that I have, so I just use a regular thruster. The Mark II supercharged optimized frame shift drive. Hey, you never know when you're going to have to jump a few neutron stars to get out of here. We never know. But basically it's just because it's SCO drive. It comes with the ship. I took it. I upgraded it to grade 5 and all that. So the life support is pretty standard, miscellaneous, lightweight. I can't go to 5 on this because I don't have the other engineer open. However, I do have a ship now that I might be interested in going to get it open, but we don't know yet. I don't know yet about that. So power distributor. Now this one is a very standard power distributor, charge enhanced superconduct. That's pretty normal. That's pretty meta, but there are other options. I haven't heard anything from anyone as far as different versions of this one. The only other one that might be interesting is the weapons focused, but when you're in these big ships like this, you kind of need everything because these things fly slow. They can't really outrun the Thargoids. If a Thargoid starts chasing you, a Basilisk or a Medusa or a Glaive or a Hydra, you're not getting away. Okay, so just know that because I think at the max speed on this one, it goes about 415, which isn't great, but it works. It's like a python. It's really like a python or a panther. I'm sorry. God, anaconda. I couldn't get the word out. Kept wanting to go with the P's. It was the A's. Anaconda is basically what we're replacing with this ship, which is basically what this ship was meant to replace, but it's more focused towards replacing the Jumpaconda, not necessarily the combat anaconda, but it does have the same number of hard points as that you could use in the anaconda. You could have 6 of those shard cannons in an anaconda, and this also holds 6, so it does work. You can definitely get it to work. I haven't done it yet, but I know it'll work because I already know how to do it. It works just like the anaconda. I've already been testing a lot of stuff, so we're good. We've all been testing, the whole Vortex Squadron. We've been testing AX stuff since yesterday. If you want to copy this build, I'll try to remember to put a link in the description below to my. If you go to my Anara page, you can look at my fleet, and this one's in there. So the optional internals, not as tricky, very straightforward. All hull reinforcements. Somebody's going to say, "Hey, why no shield?" Because you don't need a shield. The interceptors shoot absolute damage. Okay. They don't care about your shield. They go right through your shield. There is no reason to have a shield. I know somebody's going to ask me, but I'm trying to hit them off at the pass here. You don't need a shield. You need hull reinforcement. This is really one of the only forms of combat where you don't need a shield, or where you won't use a shield at all. So basically we have hull reinforcements, and they're all, they're all grade 5, heavy duty deep plating. It's very standard for an AX build. And then when you get down here, you get to the module reinforcements. Okay. Now, I know somebody's going to say, why not Guardian? Because you don't want to use Guardian. You can use Guardian, but you don't really necessarily want to, because they can get shut down. And like I said, I haven't got to that part yet, but we're going to talk about that a little bit. Okay. This experimental weapon stabilizer gives me the ability to have 6 AX weapons. There's a limit to how many AX weapons your ship can hold. So when you get to a certain point, you have to have the stabilizer. You need a 3F if you want 5 weapons. You need a 5F if you need 6 weapons. So that has to go on there. The module reinforcements, I just use the human version because they can't get shut down. They can still be damaged, but they can't get just shut right off. Okay. So I'm using 2 of those. I'm using, was there a 3? Yeah, I did a 5 and 2 4s. And that keeps, what that really keeps from happening is the basilisks and the medusas, which are bigger versions of the interceptor than the cyclops, they tend to want to blow your view screen out, or your windscreen or windshield out. And the only way to protect that and all your weapons and stuff like that is to have module reinforcements. So you do need those. You don't necessarily need these for human fighting in most cases, but you do need them for this kind of fighting. So you got to have them. And then you got another hull reinforcement. Then we get down into the. Now I did put some Guardian hull reinforcements. Guardian hulls are the only Guardian tech that is not affected by their anti-Guardian zone field, which they use on you. The only ones that can use them in California are, as far as I know, it's only the Hydra and the Glaive. So if you go into a high conflict zone, these will be fine. But if you use Guardian modules, they can get shut down. Okay, so there's that. That's why that's that way. And I know this is probably clear as mud to most people, but we don't need any vehicles. There are no fighters that can fight Thargoids. They have all these Guardian fighters. Not one of them does a darn thing against Thargoids. Even the scouts are just going to go pink. You are nothing but the flies to me. And it's just pink, and it just blows them up. So you don't need any vehicle bays, and we're not going to the ground, so we don't need a planetary vehicle. And no fighter. Okay, so that's basically the whole Shimolian right there. That's it. That's where we're at with this ship. I think you guys may have seen it or not seen it. We're actually right outside of Sun, so we might actually be able to get a good look at her. The Caspian. It works really well, especially in a group. Now, I'm not saying this is like going to replace any solos, but there's probably some people that can, and especially if you're using 6 shard cannons and you're just blowing up Cyclops, this thing will clean a Cyclops's clock fast. So I'd put some more heat sinks on, get rid of the scanner, put more heat sinks, and I would just blast the holy schmoly out of any Cyclops I see. However, the 6 shard ships do not work well against regular interceptors with the Basilisk, the bigger interceptors, I should say. Basilisk, Medusa, definitely not a Hydra. If you see a Hydra, yeah, you either better watch some mechan videos or run. Okay, that's all I can tell you about that. All right, we usually run. Even when we're in a group, sometimes we run. Because it's just the juice isn't worth the squeeze on those. It takes too long to kill them. We like feats of strength, but we've already done it enough times where we're like, okay, yeah, we don't need to do that again. It takes too long to kill them for the amount of money you get, and you could just restart the instance over and over and over and get all that money back in 2 seconds. So that's why we do that. So anyway, to get to my story about Powerplay versus the Thargoid War, we liked the Thargoid War. The Thargoid War was also very complicated. However, there was only one enemy. And it was an enemy that was trying to wipe out entire human civilization, or The alternative was like to convert us into them, like Borg, turn us, like the Borg, assimilate us. That's the word I was looking for, assimilate. So that's what they were there to do, and we were not having that. So, it was just a much better, in my opinion, commanders. I'm not trying to say your opinion is not valid. I'm just saying my opinion is that it's much clearer when the whole community comes together to fight a common enemy. I'm not a big fan of the community fighting each other for what we don't. I don't even know that Powerplay gives you anything when you take it over. It's other than you just have your name there and you go on a scoreboard. Yeah, if you're into scoreboards, great. I don't care about scoreboards. I care about saving humanity. So here we are looking at the ship, and we are checking it out right now. This is the Caspian Explorer with AX stuff all over it. Obviously, look at that. 8 Titans, baby. That's right. How many of you got that? So this is Sierra. FE1X6. This is my 6th AX ship. So it's in a long list. Actually, I retired a whole bunch of them. So this one really would be probably more like the 15th one if I hadn't gotten rid of everything. But yeah, you can see how beautiful it looks. It's good. It does, like I said, it does very well in the AX space. Not sure how it does with the as a solo. I haven't tried that yet, but that's not to say that I won't. Now I got this thing going on high speed chase over here. So yeah, it's not smooth anymore. How did I do that? Oh, yeah. So in any event, there it is. There she is. So now you guys got to look. We're going to see if we can't do some fighting today in it. So like I said, let's get together, commanders. Let's do this. And that's why we're back here. So we're back here today. If you want to come out, you can obviously join our Discord. There's a link in the description below the video. Come on in, hang out with us if you want. Come in the Discord. We'll try to accommodate you the best we can, depending on how many people show up. We'll be there, most of the day, I'm assuming. And there may be different groups of people coming and going. So just be prepared and come on and join us, and we'll show you all there is to show you about Goid. If you want to copy my ship, it works. But there's other ships you can use too. There's the Crate. There's the Anaconda. If you already have any of these, they're still viable ships. You can use the Corsair. You can use the Caspian Explorer. All those things are viable. So I'm hoping that I get to meet some new people, maybe. And commanders, that's all I've got for this week's Going In Hot podcast. We'll talk to y'all next time.